You know, they always tell you, if you're a nurse or a social worker, you have to have a big heart. And I really believe all of us have big hearts, you know.
Hello, everybody. Ken Hendricks from Home Instead. Thank you again for joining me again today. Today, my guest is a real gem of a jewel. Now, I don't know if that is a real expression that people use, but it came to mind when I was thinking about our guest today. We had a caregiver that worked for Home Instead years ago, and her primary client that she cared for, whenever they called the office, they would say that about this person. And it was obviously something that they said simply out of love, because of the love and care and genuine concern and compassion that this caregiver showed. And our guest today, Yolanda Arrey, is certainly that kind of person too. She is the Director of Social Services with Sierra Vista here in Santa Fe, an assisted living community that specializes in providing stellar care for those living with dementia. Yolanda worked in the corporate sector for 35 years before realizing her dream of attending higher education and working with and advocating for elders. Her favorite Sierra Vista motto is a place to call home where elders can find the perfect balance of freedom and security through a full range of individualized services. So I'm really happy to have Yolanda on today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And so for those that don't know you, I know I went over a little bit of your bio there in the intro, but for those that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about your background, some fun details, and maybe what led you to this passion for working with elders?
Well, I guess it goes way back when I was very young. I love my grandparents. My mother's mother lived very close to us. So I remember as a little girl, always taking her candy. She always wore an apron, and I would stick the candy in her apron. And I just had a love for elders at that time in the early years. And then when I grew up, well, when I got married, my husband and I did a lot of volunteer work at the nursing homes, just like you do, and playing, you know, and entertaining the elders. We did that for many, many years. So my passion has always been to work with elders. And now that I am in the senior part of the spectrum there, it's even more so for me, because I want to put out that word that, you know, we're not an albatross around anyone's neck, and we are able to enrich and be treasures in lives of our children, our grandchildren, and this maturity that we can share with them. I know my daughter always says, "Oh, Mom, you make me so mad because you're always right." But you know, it's just wonderful to be able to share that wisdom, and I just have loved, you know, working with elders way back then, and now working here at Sierra. I did do my internship. I started school at late in life, and you know, they always say when you get into the golden years, you should do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, I got that opportunity to do that. I went to school 5 years straight without working. School was my work. And I was able to visit Peru. I went to school there for 18 days, I believe, total. Lived with a family. It was such a wonderful experience. And, you know, you think, well, I'm mature and there's nothing I need to know in life. And all these wonderful courses I took that enriched my life, you know, when it comes to drama, to history, I don't regret one moment of taking the time to get my degrees. I I got my associate's degree, and then right after that, I got my bachelor's, and then I got my, oh my gosh, I just totally forgot my master's.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
master's. And I did do my internship here at Sierra, and it was just like home for me. It was uh, the love that is a part of this community. It's not an institution, it's an actual community where you can
Yeah,
redirect people and make them feel like they're worthy of respect. And
yeah,
I learned to say little white lies here, which is kind of, oh my gosh, I don't think I could do that. And I realized how important it is to tell little white lies, because once you tell them, I want to go home, and you said, I'm getting off right at 5 and I'll take you home. And that's all it takes. Because, it's only a moment to moment with a disease of dementia. It's wonderful that you can make them feel like, yes, someone's listening,
yeah.
regardless of, you're going into their world and accepting them as they are and making validate their presence.
Yeah, I love that placard that's right outside the door of Sierra Vista there. I've seen it several times going in and out, taking my guitar over there to play for the residents there. And it says something to the effect of, the reality of the present moment that the resident is living with is the reality of the moment.
Yes.
And when you said, the little white lies, like, it makes me think of that, because I mean, I think that even the connotation of a lie, it doesn't really do it justice. Just um, to be compassionate enough to exist within the reality of someone who's living with dementia makes all the difference.
Yes.
To be willing to go there and to give up your perceptions
You
to
go into their world, exactly, and you make them feel like you're validating what they're saying, and you're not saying to them, no, that's not right, that's not right. You're saying yes to whatever they're saying, and you're making them feel like that there's nothing wrong. They're actually in their world, and you're invited to come into theirs.
yeah,
And
yeah. You made me think about my daughter when you mentioned your daughter and her being, she gets angry with you because you're always right. And I'm thinking, yeah, that, hopefully, the experience that we gain over life as we get older is something that we internalize in positive ways to make better and better decisions. And, our kids, hopefully they experience it as an added benefit to life, to have that wisdom that we can pass on to them. But I was thinking about my daughter. I mean, she's only 9, but I hope that someday, she expresses that kind of thing to me and takes the wisdom. Because right now we're just at that point where she does not want to admit that dad is right about things. But that sounds like you and your daughter have a really beautiful relationship there.
oh, and it's wonderful because my kids, as I started school late in life, they were all my cheerleaders. They helped me through algebra, graphs, and all of them took part. Actually, my degrees, they all have part in it. And
Wow.
they were just so proud of me that I was able to do this. And my kids, I'm very proud of all of them because they've done well. But they also helped me get where I'm at.
That is so cool. So, what are some of the specifics you might have touched on? Well, you certainly have touched on some of these already, but what are some of the specifics to your role there at Sierra Vista? And what do you find to be some of the most rewarding aspects of what you do there?
Well, as social services director, I do the admissions, I do the pre-admissions. I'm kind of the main contact the families have if whatever the needs are. Granted, I do marketing also as part of my job description. But I hope, now with this COVID, I do have Catalina that helps me through, setting up meetings that she takes. Now I'm helping her with that. And she was the main one that was taking on that job to have our families connect with their loved ones with the iPads, with the window visits, with the telephone calls. All of that has made, our lives different here
Yeah.
at Sierra and I think at every facility. But we've had to step up to that and try to make that contact with the families as best as we can.
I'm sure that's a really rewarding thing to experience too, when you see, I know it can be difficult, and there's the added dimension of, wherever someone's at any given moment, if they're living with dementia, with regard to how they're going to relate to experiencing an interaction with someone through a screen. But I've been part of a few of them, and it's amazing to see how technology in our current day, although it can be a hindrance at times, it can be frustrating at times for different reasons. It's really a blessing right now during COVID.
Oh, yes. And being a social worker, I also, it's so fulfilling to be able to be that resource and to be able to help families with maybe just listening,
Yeah.
because it is so frustrating. So I love that contact that I have with the families and to be able to give them resources. And we have, support groups that help them through this. And I just love the elders. I mean, they're just, they're part of my family. And, when you
Yeah.
lose one, it is as devastating as losing one of your own,
Mm.
because they become part of your family.
Yeah.
But I just have a special, they always tell you, if you're a nurse or a social worker, you have to have a big heart. And I really believe all of us have big hearts, especially during this time, regardless of what your role is in your place of business. It is needed more now than ever to be
Yeah.
able to reach out.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of those sentiments, I mean, those are echoed here at the Homestead team with our family of caregivers. It does become, a very a type of relationship that's very synonymous with family. How caring for someone in such an intimate way and being involved in their life in such an intimate way is a real privilege. And it does, it does turn into just the most intimate of connections, that long after people pass, our caregivers are reminiscing about the beautiful times that they were able to have with their clients and the experiences and the lessons that they learned. And um, we are blessed to be able to do what we do, for sure. One of the things that you and I are blessed to be part of is that we're working with a pretty fantastic team of experts, putting together a conference that we're calling Dementia Possibilities. And one of the workshops you're involved with is titled Creative Caregiving in the Time of COVID-19. And I know when I say that, if there are any caregivers that are watching our conversation right now, their ears are perking up, and they don't want to wait probably until this conference comes to pass to get some of those tips that might be part of that workshop. So what types of tips and advice are you putting together in a workshop, called Creative Caregiving during this era that we're living in?
Well, I think, I think the primary one is that we've had to step up to fill in for the families. We have to give them the hugs and the reassurance that they're loved, because really they don't, as we can observe, we don't see the loss of the interaction in person, because they get it through the window, through the video, and they've gotten pretty good at it. The elders have been more receptive. There's some that still have challenges with it, but I think it's wonderful for them to hear their voice and sometimes they keep pushing buttons and getting us disconnected, but that's okay too, because just knowing the family, knowing that they're doing well and they look good, and I think that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Continuing with the telephone calls is, it's really difficult sometimes, because sometimes families forget that what dementia does to their loved ones, because they want them to be uh, normal, or what they remember them 8 months ago, or the things that
Yeah.
when they last saw them. And you know dementia doesn't stop because of COVID started. It continues to progress, and that's really hard for the family members, because just having that touch is very important. And we assure them that that's what we're doing. We're with the window uh, visits. We've in our different homes, we've decorated them different motifs, just to I know that one of our homes had even a wedding in their family, and the bride and groom came and visited through the window. I mean, so we're
Wow.
trying to be innovative enough to give them ideas. Like for me, when I visit with the families, I said, it's not so much like, what, mom, what did you do today? Or dad, what did you do today? It's almost like, be creative and get out. You're not going to tell them, do you remember this? But you're going to say, look, mom, I'm a nurse, and I'm a pediatric nurse, and I work with the neonatal division. This is a baby that was 2 pounds.
Mm.
And oh, how wonderful. You hear her on this side. I says, start thinking of these things that you can share without saying, do you remember this? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
But then just really, so helping the families to open that book to become creative of, reading them a book. We know we have some family members that have donated books, children's books, but you know how beautiful they are. I mean, the illustrations are just bright and sharp, and they love that. They love that. And there's some family members that have donated some beautiful books, even though some of them get a little torn. And that's not her concern. She just wants to share that beautiful, beautiful book that her husband collected for years. And so always to remind them that they need to be creative and not feel stuck, and expecting their loved one to come up with responses that they want to hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to stimulate their brain, or music. I have one in here that he listens to Johnny Cash. He's tapping his foot, and he's just having a grand time listening to that music. And his wife is like, oh, she's just so happy because she sees him happy. And
Yeah.
that's all that they need. So during this time, you need to be creative and help the families to think of things that they can do. We talked about in our facility for Thanksgiving, what are we thankful for? Having them do a video of some sort, or something that we can help them if they're challenged with doing a video or a Zoom. But to say, mom, I love you. And even though she doesn't know, or he doesn't know who you are, is hearing that I love you
Mm.
is so important. I can feel that even though the elder doesn't know who they are, there's always that feeling that they are connected, even though they
Yeah.
can't voice it. Say, you're my daughter, you're my father, you're my mother.
Yeah. It's like it seems, obviously this is just speculation, but it seems that the different types of diseases that bring forth dementia in a person's experience, those things, the disease is hindering a person's ability to access a memory and convey it, or to access a feeling and convey it. but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not there.
Right.
It doesn't mean that the experience isn't happening at some level. It's just the ability to convey that they're present in that experience, or that they remember that thing, the person in the picture, or and so it's still, yeah, it's still very worth doing,
Yeah.
showing them the picture. But I love how you said, you drew attention to the point that, like, to ask our loved one, do you remember this, to want to get that yes, that they remember it, or that confirmation that they remember who this person is. That's really for us more
Right.
than it is for them. But to just show them the picture of the cute little girl that might be them, it might be, or it might be their, their sibling or something, and just let them enjoy that, and maybe even just believe that that connection's there, because we know it is, and just enjoy that with them. I think that that's some good stuff.
And too, that, when we have you over, hopefully soon again, they love that the music. They love to sing along with them. And sometimes I'll get a little silly with them, and they'll love that interaction, and remembering these songs. They remember those words that, I need to have script. But they are just loving that, and that just builds up their spirit, and
Yeah.
it makes them happy. It makes them fulfilled. I think music is one of the greatest gifts that we can give them,
Mm.
because it brings them back to old times, to, not so much the current times, but they
Yeah.
remember them. They
Yeah, I miss
remember all of
that.
that.
I definitely miss that. And we were able to do the courtyard concerts during the warmer months, but now that it's getting colder, we'll just have to be creative and think of ways that we could do that. We'll figure something out. But yeah, I
Yes.
definitely miss it.
And
Um,
it's I just think constantly, everything changes. This thing with the Department of Health, all of this changes on a daily basis, and nothing's for sure.
yeah.
But we know that we're in our house, we're doing the best we can to have them engaged. The socialization, socialization is the key to dementia. It's
Hmm.
when they know that they are part of a family, of a community. Even if somebody's yelling, it's still part of where they live, and I think that, for caregivers, my message to you is to really just get down to where, it's not, do you remember, but it's like sharing, and uh, you know making them feel validated and valued.
Hmm.
Uh, we are a facility, but some of the caregivers are one-to-one at home. And when I do my admissions, it's all about, them feeling like they are, this is their home. I said, I'm not going to chase them from someone else's room. It's their home.
Yeah.
We're able to go wherever we want, and I think that that's what the key thing is: the validation, and making sure that they are heard.
Well, thank you so much, Yolanda, for taking the time to chat with me today. I think that there's a lot of really fantastic nuggets of information that you've shared that I think could be not only encouraging to caregivers that might check out our conversation, but also practically helpful. Um, so if folks would like to reach out to you, how would they go about getting a hold of you and reaching out to the folks at Sierra Vista?
They can call us at 505-986-9696, or at vistaliving.com. We can, I'd love to hear from you if you call. I'd love to hear and talk with you. And we're not just about getting our beds filled. It's about helping the community in any way that we can.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Yolanda. I look forward to doing this again. in the near future. And I'm happy to be working on different projects with you. Thank you for everything you do in the community, and just, yeah, just the person you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. It was a pleasure.